Good day, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. So the Supreme Court allows Trump administration to enforce a policy requiring sex at birth to be listed on U.S. passports. U.S. flight cancellation accelerates as airlines comply with government shutdown order. The Boeing company will not face criminal charges over the 737 MAX crashes that killed hundreds of people. A U.S. judge orders the Trump administration to fully fund Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, benefits by today amid record shutdown harm. A Sudanese paramilitary group agrees to a ceasefire proposal after a massacre in an army stronghold that is overran. The Supreme Court has allowed the Trump administration policy that these U.S. passports will no longer have all these LGBTQ ally binary, this male and female. So the Supreme Court has allowed the Trump administration policy that the U.S. passport must reflect sex at birth, removing flexibility for transgender, non-binary citizens. And some people would state that identity matters, travel matters, the ability to exist visibly in public without distortion or denial, that this hits trans and non-binary folks right in the core. It's about the whole government recognizing and who decides to erase it. That is the argument that a lot of people are going to state behind this particular story, that they can no longer be identified because of their gender. And it states that on his first day in office, Trump signed an executive order recognizing only two sexes, leading the U.S. to issue passports with just male or female designations. Based on a person's sex record at birth, the Biden administration had allowed people to self-select their gender on passports and added a third option, X, to the travel document, which is issued by the State Department. The win for the Trump administration, the latest on High Court's emergency docket, means that individuals can no longer show their chosen identity on new or renewed passport in the new future. The three liberal justices dissented. The State Department had since 1992 permitted passport sex designations to differ from sex assigned at birth with medical documentation. So if you went to a doctor and say, hey, doc, I'm non-binary, you gave the doc a couple of $100 and he changed your sex. Now, why is this so important? Now, for me, I'm not going to lie, I really don't care, but why I believe there's only two sexes, this is my own opinion. You can't just choose your sex because you feel a particular way. It's biology, is it not? It's the X and Y chromosomes, is it not? But when we look at this, you can just kind of choose whatever sex you believe or how you feel. What if the world operated on how you feel? Isn't it some days you feel like you should just go scorch earth and that everything should just be destroyed? Then you calm down from your senses and you're like, you know what? No, I'm good. I just needed me a latte. It's something on those lines. So let me show you how confusing this can be. Here's a glossary of terms. Let's go and accept some of these cookies, but I want to blow this up for you guys. How a lot of these terms can be very, very not just disturbing for people who are heterosexual, because again, this is how they identify, but all of these particular terms. And some people are like, well, we shouldn't be able, or we shouldn't try to box people in. Ladies and gentlemen, it's biology. Okay, it's genetics. It says here, ally, a term used to describe someone who is actively supportive of LGBTQ plus people. It encompasses straight and cisgender allies, as well as those within the LGBT community. It took me a while to understand what cisgender mean. I'm like, dude, heterosexual or homosexual, male or female, gay or straight. That that's where I'm at. Then you have asexual, often called ACE for short. Asexual refers to complete or partial lack of sexual attraction or lack of interest in sexual activity with others. Asexuality exists on a spectrum, and asexual people may experience no, little, or conditional sexual attraction. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, again, is not confusing, but it's complicated and weird a little bit. Again, this is just my conjecture. Biphobia, bisexual, gay, gender queer, gender binary, a system which gender is constructed into two strict categories of male or female. Gender identity is expected to align with the sex assigned at birth, and gender expression and roles fit traditional expectations. I have no idea what that means. Gender dysphoria, clinically significant distress caused when a person's assigned birth gender is not the same as the one with which they identify. Okay. Gender expansive, gender expression, gender fluid, a person who does not identify with a single fixed gender or has a fluent or unfixed gender identity. What are your male and female parts? That's what you are. Okay. Again, this is my rhetoric. I'm going to go back to gender expression. External experience of one's gender identity, usually expressed through behavior, clothing, body characteristic, or voice, hey guys, and which may or may not conform to socially defined behaviors and characteristics typically associated with being either masculine or feminine. Have you noticed that a lot of these gender identity definitions are just like so over the top? Again, homophobia, the fear and hatred of or discomfort with people who are attracted to members of the same sex. Okay. Intersex, lesbian, LGBTQ, non-binary, outing, pansexual. What is outing? Exposing someone's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or gender non-binary identity to others without their permission. He's gay. Outing someone can have serious repercussions on employment, economic stability, personal safety, or religious or family situations. I understand that. Pansexual describes someone who has the potential for emotional, romantic, or sexual attraction to people of any gender, though not necessarily simultaneously, like in periods. Like today, I'm attracted to men, and a week from now, I'm attracted to women. Okay. In the same way or to the same degree, sometimes used interchangeably with bisexual. Queer, questioning, same gender loving, sex assigned at birth, sexual orientation, transgender, transitioning. Lord, that is why I believe it's very simple to say, based upon biology, your X and Y chromosomes, what were you assigned at birth? You are male or female. The doc, the nurse, they look, do you have a penis? Do you have a vagina? There you are. Very simple. I believe, again, that's this going to be easy when people are trying to define and identify what someone is on their passport. Okay. Maybe you guys disagree. Leave your comments. Now, amid the longest U.S. government shutdown, and this is the longest shutdown ever in American history, the Federal Aviation Administration ordered major cuts in flights. Airlines started canceling hundreds of flights today by 4%. You're going to have travel disruption. It isn't just an inconvenience for wealthy flyers, but for workers, cargo crews, service industries, and communities relying upon transportation. This is cascading disruption. Now, again, as I told you guys, there's hundreds of flights, and it started today, ladies and gentlemen. The FAA said in the order that the reductions will start today and ramp up to 10% by November 14th. They are to be in effect between 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. local time and impact all commercial flights. So if you are planning on traveling for whatever the reason may be, starting today, you really want to start to look at your flights to see if they cancel your flight, they delayed your flight, they're rerouting your flight, they're trying to reschedule your flight. This is something that you need to plan for, especially if it's work related. Your job may not get the information. You may want to let them know, hey, I won't be able to get there. They canceled my flight. Don't forget the government shutdown. They have reduced manpower. The FAA don't have enough people to man the skies, the traffic in the sky. So this is very imperative for a lot of U.S. flyers. Now, a lot of the airports that's being affected, Southern U.S. airports, Florida airports, Texas airports. Now, the one in the Southern U.S., Charlotte Douglas International, Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky International, Hartsfield Jackson, Atlanta International, Louisville International, Memphis International. Then you have Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood International, Miami International, Orlando International, Tampa International, DFW, Dallas Love, George Bush Houston International, Washington, D.C. airports, BWI, DCA, AID, California airports, LAX, Oakland, San Francisco, as well as San Diego International. Northwest Airports, Anchorage International, Portland International, SeaTac, Midwest Airport, Chicago Midway, Chicago O'Hare, Detroit Metropolitan, Wayne County, Indianapolis International. So again, Western Airports, Denver International, Las Vegas Harry Reid International, Salt Lake City, Phoenix Sky Harbor International, New York, New Jersey, and Upper East Coast airports like New York John F. Kennedy International, LaGuardia, Newark Liberty, Boston Logan, and Philadelphia International, as well as Hawaii Honolulu International airports. They have so many cancellations behind this. Now, but this is important as well. Here are some of the airlines that are offering refunds to customers. Delta Airlines has implemented a similar policy because they're stating in a memo to staff that was shared with the BBC, United Airlines CEO, Scott Kirby, said any customer can get a refund on a flight, even if it isn't being canceled, including customers with non-refundable tickets and basic economy tickets. The airline also said it would waive any fare differences on a rebooked flight. This is really good. I'm glad that the airlines are stepping in and doing their just due. American Airlines stated, we will allow customers to change a flight or request a refund without penalty, whether or not their specific flight had been canceled. Southwest Airlines stated that if customers' flight are canceled, they can rebook or request a refund. Now, Frontier Airlines will let customers change or cancel their flights without a fee, but they will be required to pay any difference in fare on a rebooked flight. CEO Barry Biffle has suggested buying a backup ticket if you're heading to a wedding, funeral, or even event you must attend that. So he's like, because flight tickets fluctuate given the time of the season, especially closer to on a lot of these American holidays, that the ticket price is going to go up. Excuse me. The ticket prices are going to go up. So, excuse me again. But anyway, let's move on to the next story, because this is one of those stories that nobody is really paying attention to, that Nancy Pelosi, she's retiring. She's at the age of 86. She's been in Congress for 40 plus years. And I don't know, I'm pretty sure she's done some very significant things, but being a Democrat or a Republican, don't matter what affiliation she is, I don't see how she changed the lives of millions of Americans. That's just me. A lot of you guys are going to weigh in the comment section. I know you will. Okay. But Boeing, here's a good one. Boeing escapes criminal prosecution in the 737 MAX disaster that kills hundreds of people instead of settling for financial penalties and oversight changes. And this matters because how often do corporate giants cause mass death and walk away? We look at the pharmaceutical companies, and this is mass transit at its best, because accountability really matters, especially when lives of people often outside the U.S. die and justice is deferred. So they're getting away with, some people are now stating, with murder. Boeing will not face a criminal conspiracy charge over two 737 MAX jetliner crashes that killed 346 people. I just want you guys to really think about that number and all the people that they were connected to, business affiliates, friends, loved ones, associates, this, all the people that 346 people were connected to, how their lives will be affected. After a federal judge in Texas on Thursday granted the government request to dismiss the case as part of a deal to drop the charge, the American Aerospace Company agreed to pay or invest an additional $1.1 billion in fines, compensation for the crash victim families, and there you have it. That is why Boeing is not facing any criminal charges, because of compensation for the crash victim families. And internal safety and quality measures, the agreement lets Boeing choose its own compliance consultant instead of getting an independent monitor. So Boeing can go out and consult their own consultant, essentially, that's going to coincide with Boeing, instead of having an independent monitor that's neutral. Sounds like big business to me. Now, granted, I understand if you lost your loved one, Boeing isn't going anywhere. Boeing, creates and builds majority of the planes in the U.S. with a lot of the American airliners, let alone airliners overseas. So Boeing is not going anywhere, even though if someone was brought up on criminal charges, it may be maybe 50, I don't know, 20 something people may get a misdemeanor or something egregious, or different fines would somehow come from this, but Boeing wouldn't go anywhere. So instead of that, the family's like, hey, we'll take the cash out. We'll take the compensation for our loved ones dying because of Boeing's negligence, allegedly. So again, when I look at this, I think there's a lot that could have been done that a lot of these judges out of Texas could have done. They could have ordered an independent monitor. They could have more safety reviews and more safety checks and more safety inspections before these flights are sold to airliners. That's just my take on it. I believe they could have done a lot more, which they have not. This is really, really good news for a lot of families, 42 million people in America, because the U.S. federal judge ordered the administration to fully fund SNAP food benefits for November. And this, again, is going to affect 42 million people amid this shutdown. And food aid isn't charity. It's a lifeline. You need food in order to survive and live. So when the system threatens that lifeline that people were depending on because they don't make enough money, don't get me wrong. I know there's people frauding the government when it comes to SNAP benefits. I know. I'm only talking to the people who actually go out and work and actually do best for their family. And maybe some people are not in the right health condition that they also depend on SNAP. I'm talking to those people as well that I understand they need this SNAP money in order to suffice their life and the people that they support. But when this system threatens the lifeline of people, we need to ask who lives matters to the system, who holds power, and who's essentially being ignored. I want to talk a little bit more about this particular one because right here it states that a federal judge on Thursday ordered the Trump administration to make a payment to fully fund the SNAP program for the month of November by Friday, which is today. Judge McConnell directly rebuked President Donald Trump for stating his intent to defy a court order by saying earlier this week that SNAP will not be funded until the government reopens from the ongoing shutdown. So when I look at what's going on with these SNAP benefits, there's so much that this government could have done. And they took this entire story that I'm kind of reviewing for you guys to basically state that SNAP benefits should be paid no later than today. I'm thinking no later than Monday. So again, we have SNAP benefits being refunded. Okay, people should receive their SNAP benefits either by today or by Monday. Flights by Monday are going to be cut by 10%. They're already cut by 4% today. So there's a lot of things going on in the American government, ladies and gentlemen. So the Sudanese paramilitary rapid support forces has agreed to a U.S., UAE, Egypt, Saudi broker ceasefire. All these different countries are in partnership trying to stop the genocide there in Sudan. And they broker a ceasefire after alleged mass civilian killings in the city of Al-Fashar. Overseas doesn't really mean other when mass atrocities happen and ceasefires are broken. What our government does or fails to do is to reverberate deep in the African diaspora and the refugee communities when it comes to justice movements. As I'm looking at this story, this is one of the stories I was talking about just a couple of days ago, even last week, of how we are allowing just limited amount of refugees come to America. And again, that's a form of immigration that we have decreased the number from 15,000 to 7,500, and majority of those positions or position of those slots are going to white South Afrikaners because of their alleged discrimination in South Africa, which has been proven to be false. But anyway, a paramilitary group accused of killing thousands of Sudanese civilians in a war that has triggered a catastrophic humanitarian crisis said Thursday it had agreed to a ceasefire proposal from U.S.-led mediators, although an American official indicated a final deal had not been struck yet. Hours after the announcement, a State Department spokesperson indicated the U.S. was still working to get both sides, the RSF and the Sudanese military, to agree to a truce. So right now, they are at a standstill, and hopefully they can come to some agreement where innocent people are stopped being killed. Okay, I hope that they come to an agreement. Good morning, Volvo, as well as Caesar Blue 5. Now, this is where you kind of put, your foot in your mouth, because this billionaire, he was basically stating that if Zoran Madawi wins, he's going to move his businesses to New Jersey. And so Zoran Madawi won, and now he's changing his tune. Let me see if I can get this big for you guys. Big Apple billionaire John Costamatos planned to move his businesses to New Jersey if Zoran Madawi was elected mayor. Now he's reconsidering. Publicly threatened to shut down his 30+ stores. And these are convenience and grocery stores, those quote unquote bodegas. And the reason why is because, Zoran Madawi was stating that he's going to have cities to own grocery stores. That's going to hurt his business. Now he can't jack up the prices, right? So when I was reading a lot of the campaign promises that Zoran Madawi was making, he was stating that these grocery stores are not going to make any profit. They're not going to make any profit, right? So whatever they purchase from farms and other big box retailers, that they're only going to increase the price to maybe pay staff and operating costs, but not to make a profit for the city. So when you have someone like this guy, okay, this big billionaire, he can raise prices on products as how much he wants. So take, for instance, he buys a pallet worth of Frosted Flakes cereals, one of my old-time favorites. You guys remember Frosted Flakes, and if you felt groovy that day, you cut up your bananas and your Frosted Flakes. Maybe that was just me and my mom. And the way I look at it, if you buy a large pallet of Frosted Flakes, let's say you bought 100 boxes of Frosted Flakes, and let's just say arbitrary numbers here, ladies and gentlemen, arbitrary number, that pallet costs you $100, right? So that pallet costs you $100. He can come in and say, okay, well, I have 100 boxes of Frosted Flakes that cost me $100, so it's $1 a box. He can then charge $3 a box. He can make hand over fist. He can be an instant multiplier of groceries, right? Making 2 times the amount that he paid on that box of Frosted Flakes. So he paid $1, but he's going to charge you $3. So he's going to make 2 times the amount. Very simple math. That's how it's done. That's called capitalism. So he threatened to shut down his 30+ stores if the Democratic Socialists won the election, and ranted on TV. He's not qualified. This is silly. He said on Fox News, compare Madawi to Fidel Castro, who is a known dictator and communist. But didn't Donald Trump say that too? Is one big con game. Oh, is one big con game because it's going to hurt your bottom line and you can no longer make profit off the people. Where's capitalism where you want it? Here comes socialism. And ladies and gentlemen, just because of my tone, don't mean I'm for socialism, but it kind of makes me laugh a little that when billionaires get mad because someone come in with an idea that's going to hurt their bottom line. But you don't understand. It's a trickle-down effect. He's going to close stores. People are going to lose their jobs. I know. We elected, when I say we, the American people, don't mean that you voted for Donald Trump. It doesn't mean you voted. You probably didn't vote. You probably voted for Kamala Harris. Doesn't really matter. But we, the people of these United States of America, voted in President Trump. So they voted in Zoran Madawi in New York City, the most capitalist city in the United States of America. But now they voted for socialism. Look how the wheel turns. He also called President Trump, who publicly backed his friend. Trump is in it again, one of his billion-dollar friends. Madawi actually wants to take over the grocery stores of John Costamatos, who's a great guy, a rich guy, Trump said of his buddy, whose net worth Forbes pegs at $4.8 billion. President Trump is always telling everybody business. Just the other day, he was doing a press conference, and he was trying to get this bill signed to lower the price on a lot of these weight loss drugs like Wegovy, and I forgot the most popular one. That kind of slips my mind. But nonetheless, he was stating how one of the guys on his staff actually takes the drug. HIPAA, President Trump, HIPAA, he can probably actually sue you for giving out his personal medical information. Just saying. But he's saying, hey, he's a great guy. He's a rich guy. And I think he said he's rich because I feel as though that anybody who is on the same level or makes more money than President Trump, he calls them rich. Have you noticed that? Or maybe it's just me. I don't know. I think a lot of business people are reducing their exposure to New York City, he tells Forbes, whose $7.8 billion revenue Red Apple Group also owns a Pennsylvania oil refinery. We're talking about Casamadas, some 400 convenience stores, and a portfolio of real estate stretching from New York to Florida, had been looking to move Red Apple's headquarters to New Jersey if Madawi became mayor. He changed his mind after Tuesday election. Oh, those damn Democrats came in and won all these elections. New Jersey didn't go the right way, he says. After the state resoundingly elected Democrat Mikey Sherrill as governor, now he's looking for friendly states to relocate operations, with Florida being the most likely candidate. Boy, that really chapped his hide, did he not? And last but not least, China. They're building aircraft carriers that's going to take them pretty much longer than any other aircraft carrier in history. They're really trying to be the world's powerhouse when it comes to the Navy. China has commissioned its latest aircraft carrier after extensive sea trials. State media report Friday adding a ship that experts say will help what is already the world's largest Navy. China has the world's largest Navy as we speak. It is perhaps the most visible example so far of Xi's massive military overhaul and expansion that aims to have a modernized force by 2035 and one that is world-class by mid-century. China is really trying to take our number one spot when it comes to economics and military prowess. With it being Beijing takes another step towards closing the gap with the U.S. Navy and carrier fleet and network of bases. Think about that network of bases that allow it to maintain a presence around the world. So a lot of these international waters, I'm looking for China to build military naval bases in the middle of the ocean. They're going to have them strategically placed throughout the ocean. Now, I know there's a treaty or some sort of act, according to the UN, that you can't build military bases, but they're going to have partnerships with countries that they're going to build these Navy military bases somewhere in the oceans. I'm just letting you know that's coming. Carriers are key to Chinese leadership vision of China as a great power with a blue water navy, or one that can project power far from its coastal waters. So again, China, I believe every 5 years, they get the top 100 important people, the top 100, I believe, political mind. It's something like that. It's like the top 100 richest people in China or something on those lines. They meet every 5 years and they plan the new age of China for the next 100 years. And they know that every 5 years it may change. So you may want to look that up as well. China's not playing around, ladies and gentlemen. We need not only to be looking to China, but we should be learning from China. Here's the thing about whether they be an ally or enemy, or we're just, neutral. You should be learning from everybody. We should be learning, as Americans, we should be learning from China. We should be learning from Africa. We should be learning from South America. We should be learning from Australia. We should be learning from everybody around the world. If America wants to stay on top, then we need to be learning from everybody. Good morning, Jermaine Anderson. We need to be learning from absolutely everybody, or again, America will be left in everyone's dust, because it's slowly but surely happening. See, while America, we are infighting right now, right? If you guys tune in tonight, 6:45 p.m., I'm give you guys a powerful, comprehensive breakdown on the woke right versus MAGA and how they are imploding on themselves. Just like the debacle in the Democratic Party, right? You had the woke left And now you had these Democratic moderates that's coming out. You had these Democratic socialists that's coming out. American politics is a show. You know the word I wanted to say. It's a manure show. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, we have to be aware of what's going on in our country. And truth be told, I don't like politics. I hate politics, but I have to understand it. I have to regurgitate it. I want you guys to be truly informed of what's going on and how these things transpire, how they transform. So tune in this evening, 6:45 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm going to give you guys a very powerful breakdown on the woke right versus MAGA and how they're simply imploding on themselves. It's not going to only be entertaining, but it's definitely going to be informative.